I, as you probably know, am Donna Miller, president and founder of C3 Workplace. Your actual instructor, so to speak, today is Kelly Lauro. She's going to introduce herself in a second. Here at C3 Workplace, we help companies to start and grow. We do that by giving them ways to focus on driving revenue. That's what we do. How we do it is we have office space out of 2 locations. We provide virtual assistants, mostly helping business owners to focus on driving revenue and doing the back office piece like that data entry and follow-up and calendar management, email management, and all that administrivia that really can get your feet snared in a net. We also do a really lot of bookkeeping. We have a team of QuickBooks Certified Pro bookkeepers. I firmly believe wholeheartedly in the power of financial literacy, and that's what we really help our clients to do. What do those numbers mean to my business? And I spend most of my time these days is around business consulting and helping business owners and professionals identify those things that will help them to drive better results. And as an organization, we've been around for 25 years. We've seen a few major economic up and downs. So, you know, we've been here, well, no one's been here before, but, you know, we've been through some things that felt similar. And so we've got some insight that we can share. And the truth is, as an organization, you know, I started this company 25 years ago. It was me, a partner, and 1 part-timer. And we've grown it into an organization that not only runs without me, but really now is beginning to grow without me. And that's really what we help companies to do. And what that ends up meaning, in a long-winded introduction way, because those of you who know me know I can be a little long-winded, what that really means is that every time we have created a solution for C3 Workplace internally, we had more value to bring to the marketplace. And so in truth, we have been running a remote organization, even though one of our core offerings is space. We have 11 people on our team, and they are all over the place. We really have a very small team that works out of our Montclair office. Everyone else works remotely. So technologically, we've been in the cloud for probably close to 10 years, and we've been working remotely for at least 5. So this is not new to us. So we want to share. We've learned, we took a few bumps and bruises along the way. I don't know if anybody can relate to taking some bumps and bruises and growing their business. So maybe we can avoid a bump or a bruise for you. So that's my hope for today. So Kelly, take it away, and I'm gonna follow your lead now.
Sure, no problem. Thank you very much, Donna. Let me introduce myself before we go, and you can get a sense of my situation, because I'm in a sort of unique spot here where I've been with C3 Workplace and Donna for 10 years this August, and about 2 years ago, I got pregnant with my daughter, and at the time I was living in a 1-bedroom apartment in the city, or in Elizabeth. So needed space. I needed to, you know, place to go, to have a family and to grow. So I ended up buying a home that was about a little over an hour away from Montclair, which was where I had commuted into every day for close to 8 years. Donna and we were able to figure it out, and I went almost completely remotely about 2 years ago. Now, why this situation is unique and a little strange for me is that everybody is finding themselves in the situation where they're working from home. And at this point, I've been doing it for about 2 years, and I know it can be difficult. I know that there's, you know, you have to stay connected. There's so many different variables when doing this, but it's really not that hard to find your happy place when you're doing this, and to find success, and to find the tools and the softwares and the daily rituals and the daily habits that you need to do to make this work for you. And though we don't know how long this is going to last for us, and hopefully only a couple months at the most, but you know, things are so fluid these days. You don't want to take a chance, and you want to make sure that you can still focus on your business and on your success amidst the insanity of what's going on outside. So that's what we want to do with you today. That's what we want to focus on. And as Donna had mentioned sorry, as Donna had mentioned in the beginning, we want to give this opportunity to you especially to think of questions, to think of issues, to really make this presentation as helpful and as relevant to your situation as possible, because as we all know, everybody's situation is different. And we want to make sure that we can address your questions, your concerns, no matter what's going on. You know, as Donna had mentioned, in C3 Workplace, we are very hybrid. We have a staff in the office, we have tenants, but a large majority of our clients are also remote. Some of them are international, some of them, you know, we never see in person. And we make it work and we make it successful and we have really great relationships with them, even if we're just seeing them over the screen. And we want to make sure that you have the opportunity to do that as well. So as you'll see, there is a chat window. So keep your eye on that. We're going to be keeping our eye on it, and we want to incorporate and answer your questions as they come. So, you know, I have a few points that I'll go through and we'll stop, ask for questions, and we want to make sure that, you know, you are keeping up and that you're getting as much value out of this presentation as you possibly can, because that's what we're here for. We're here for you guys. So,
Agree.
Donna, anything else you want to add before?
Yeah, I mean, the only thing I want to say is, you know, having mentioned that we've been in business for 25 years, here's the truth. Every difficult situation that we face, whether it's personal or professional, has a silver lining and has opportunity. That's what we all have to figure out right now, is what's the opportunity for us? Maybe you've been wanting to work at home. Well, here you go. Maybe you've been wanting to geographically expand your business, and this is now learning how to do maybe webinars and Zoom and how to do this. Maybe that's your opportunity. So that's where I live. I try to live in the solution, try to say, okay, we've been faced with this, what can we do? So I want to encourage each of you to know that A, this won't last, and B, there's still lots of opportunity there. That's my rant. I'm done.
Beautiful.
So, and again, like Kelly said, feel free to, I'll monitor the chat window for your questions. We're happy to take questions during the presentation. We'll have time at the end of the presentation. I did have people email me a few questions, and we are recording this as well.
Yes, so we'll have a follow-up with any resources we mentioned during this presentation. We'll include in the email as well as the recording. And, you know, any other questions you have, just let us know. We'll make sure that everybody can get involved on the answer, because everybody, you know, might need your answer. So let's go on. All right, so we'll start with the basics. And obviously, the basic of the basics is finding a space to set yourself up. And there's a lot of different things you can do. There's a lot of different setups. It doesn't have to be a Pinterest desk. It doesn't have to, you know, something you have to take pictures of and post it. It has to be a space where you can go focus and be comfortable. I think those are one of the two important things. You have to be able to focus on what you're doing, and you have to be there for couple hours if need be. It's just like a desk. If you go into your office, you go into your cubicle or wherever you go, sometimes you're there, you're working on things for a while, and it has to cater to that. So number one, I would say, is to, if you don't have an office, which many people don't have an extra room, it's just, you know, if you do, ideal. I would say you want a place that is yours, that's separate, ideally with a door. Especially for me, I have a 2-year-old, so I have a door. I have one of those little child-proof knobs because she has a door, but it works. And I'm able to get away from the house. I'm able to get focused and work. And I work full-time from my home, 9 to 5. So I'm in my office. You know, obviously I get up, but I'm here all the time. So it's important to have a place to focus and to get away. If you don't, as long as you're able to find a spot away from the center of the home. So I would never recommend working in your kitchen, in your dining room, maybe if it's far away, or your living room. Preferably a bedroom if you can close the door, a dining room if it's not in the center, because especially in these times when everybody's home, the kitchen and the living room is usually where people congregate. And there's no way you're going to anything done when there's always somebody around, or there's always noise. You also want to minimize distractions, especially television. Not that you can't ever watch it. I mean, I don't have a television, but if you can't help it, just, I would say try to avoid it if you can, because there's a lot of distractions out there. Netflix has got a lot of good shows right now. You don't want to be stuck in the binge hole and be watching it. You want to minimize as much as you can. And not just the fun distractions. I know for me, waking up in the morning, you have to treat it like you're going to the office. So you wake up, you have a routine. You wake up, you take a shower, you get dressed. Don't stay in your pajamas. You have to get dressed. Have breakfast. News, maybe not. I've instituted a rule that I'm not reading the news till the afternoon because I want my morning. So you have a routine, and then you go to your space like you're going to the office somewhere else. And the other distractions you want to eliminate are things that might pull you away from that, like a dish full of dirty dishes. If you can, do it the night before so that when you wake up, you're not trying to get things right in the home. You want to make sure that your routine stays as closely as it can to what it was when you were forced to leave the house. You have to, you know, get to your space and work. I would also say, in terms of comfort and supplies, you'll need to have, you know, a comfortable chair that you can sit in for extended periods if need be. I mean, obviously you need to get up every now and then. You need a working laptop or a computer or Surface Book Pro, whatever you have, make sure it's reliable. Things like filing cabinets, whiteboards, I have them because they help me. And if you can see behind Donna, she's got a massive whiteboard that is scribbled with everything, and we are always looking at it. And
right. And let me just say, I think Kelly's right. I think, you know, you have to create the setup that works for you. I think a good chair is important. I agree with everything that you've said so far. That whiteboard behind me is 4 foot by 6 foot, and it costs, I think, $84 on Amazon because it is a Post-it 3M stick-on whiteboard. I bought that because I have plaster walls and it would be kind of hard to hang something really heavy. So I love this thing. I just stuck it on in 2 minutes. A visual thinker, so it allows me to kind of put all my ideas on the board, and then I have this red chair over here that I sit in and stare at my board while I maybe eat my breakfast or have a cup of coffee, and I kind of think of ideas. But I set up my home office. This is a true story. I went on vacation, and we were, I guess, at 99% occupancy in our Montclair office, and I went on vacation for the month of August, and the gals rented my office out. They're like, she's not here, we're renting her office. So I was like, okie dokie, let me set up that home office. And what I actually did was I painted my office at home. People now haven't known that I'm home because this is the exact same branding and color scheme as my physical office in Montclair. So it allowed, you know, really no one knew where I was, and it didn't really matter. And so it was great. So I agree with what Kelly's saying. All these things are important. And she's showing you a picture there. I have to say, I also now have 2 giant monitors plus my Surface Book Pro. I am in Command Central, baby, and I am like all over it. I love multiple monitors. And I have a sit-stand desk.
Yeah, me too.
I have a
set
desk
up
that I can
stand
elevate,
desk,
which I also
and
really like.
I'm very much a MacGyver with this kind of stuff. So what I did was I got one of those breakfast trays for breakfast in bed, and it doesn't happen very often. So I'm like, hey, I could use this, and now so, whatever works for you. Nobody.
Exactly.
You got to be comfortable, and you got to be. I would recommend, if you can stand as much as you can, any office, even if you're still going into the office.
Agreed.
Sitting all day is no good. All right. So in terms of supplies, we'll move on. One of the things that's very important is, you know, so first off is your documents. If you're just coming from an office space, it could be hard if you guys weren't already in the cloud. I know Anna and we have a lot of events like this. We have a lot of webinars, and about just setting up an office space, the best of its ability. One of the first things we always get your stuff in the cloud, because when things happen, you don't want to not be able to access your documents. You don't want to be stuck. You don't want to be in a place where you have to go in. So what we did a couple of years ago is Donna mentioned, we went very in the cloud with everything, with our email, with our documents. We utilize Office 365 because it works the best for us. We can have all of our folders, access for all of our stuff. Everybody can sort of live out of this main area, this one site that is seamless, really. You can update it in real time. You can download it to your desktop apps and work out of it that way. And, you know, we're never without the information we need. And that's one of the most important things when you work from home, is that you need to be able to access what you need as you need it. Before we went to Office 365, we had worked with Dropbox, which worked well for us at the time, but we sort of outgrew it. And we found Office 365 just to be a better value because it also includes the apps, it includes Word and Excel and, you know, all that good stuff, and Outlook, and that's what we all and then if you need something even a little more, Box, another place where everyone can sort of access the central area where you need stuff, and you're able to share, edit, and just have access. Access is the most important things when you're working from home. You got to make sure that you have it. And again, we're gonna, if you have any questions about that kind of stuff, you know, put it in the chat box, and we can answer questions, or we can give tutorials. I've been doing tutorials for the past week on lots of stuff. And I know, you know, if you have time, now's the time to do it. The next area would be a phone system. And some, you know, other people use their cell phones. We never really recommend that. You want to keep work and personal separate as much as you can. Some people, maybe it's not possible, but even if you think it's not possible, it is. So I want to encourage you to make sure you keep that line, because when you're working from home, that line can get very blurry and almost disappear. You can't do that. You have to make sure you keep work and home. So what we have in our setup is we have phones that we can do over the laptop, which is called soft phone. Or I also just have one of the hard phones that we have from our system in the office. I've taken it home, and our techs have been able to wire it so it can answer. It's seamless. I've called people from this phone that are in the office, and they're like, "Where are you?" I'm home. I'm like, "Yeah, they sound like you're right at the desk." It's the same number. It's completely seamless, and it's necessary for what, because if you're not fully familiar with what Workplace offers, we do have a lot of back office, as Donna said, we have a lot of back office services, and one of those is answering. So we are the receptionists for a number of businesses, and we have to make it seamless. We have to, you know, be a part of their company, and that's how we've been able to do it. We have a company called with. That's for very, not everybody needs that level of phone service, but if it's something, you know, staff and you have lots of phone systems and craziness going on, it's something to look into. But some other easier options are something like Grasshopper, where you sort of have this automated receptionist, and you know, they can either put it right to your voicemail or put it into your extension. Voice. If you haven't used it yet and you're curious, it's a starting point. Play with it, but you know, places like what we do and other, you know, call receptionist places will have steps. You starting with just answering phones and just transferring and voicemail, but it's you need to have the separation between work and personal, and B, it just makes you look way professional. When I call businesses and I can answering from their cell phone, you know, it's the first impression for a lot of people, and I think you always want to make the best impression. So it's something to consider. Again, while you have time, while you're working of your business, it's always something to consider if you don't have it. And then the next part is a team and a network. So when you work from home, you're alone most of the time. You know, like you're in your office, sometimes family here or whoever, but you know, you have to be connected, and it's hard to do that. So what we you know, we have been, especially during this COVID, you know, pandemic going on, we've been keeping the communication up to 11. So now we're doing weekly virtual networking events. With our own team, we are constantly talking via Zoom. We're trying to meet up and have as much as we can. And like I said, we had created, or as Donna said, we had created this event before this even happened. So right now you can't really go to meetups, or you can't go to chamber events or networking events.
Hey,
But
Cal.
yeah.
Cal, your
Yeah.
audio is a little choppy, so I'm going to suggest you turn off your video. It might be a bandwidth issue. So by the way, that's it for all of you. If you're on a video call and funky things are happening, if you're able to shut your video off, you will gain back some bandwidth. So let's see if that helps, Kelly.
Weird. Okay. Am I sounding better?
Actually, you are.
Good.
Ta-da!
Yay. Okay, so yeah, so with connection, it's important to have a line of communication as often as possible. With our team, with Office 365, we're able to have a program called Teams. So it's almost like instant messaging for those who had AIM back in the day. It's very similar to that, where you just sort of type and it pops up in your screen, and you can do screen sharing very, very easily, much like you do with Zoom. And you know, you want to be connected to people, and if you don't have a staff, if you don't come from an office, it can be very helpful to, when you have someone like an assistant, just to help you out with things, to give them things, even sometimes just to meet with them, to figure out your own tasks, your own priorities. Being connected from home, I would say, is probably one of the top priorities you need to have. You need to have the supplies, you need to have the systems, but you need to make sure that you stay around people, even if it's not in person, which, as we know, we can't do at this time. But you have to stay connected, because otherwise you're losing, you know, a lot of value with other people's opinions, with other people's insight, with just having a friendly chat. It can really change your day. So you have to make sure that connection is there, whether you're having someone help you with your tasks and you find a virtual assistant, or if you're going to meet up, going to networking events once they start up again, or things like we have virtual networking, which is really well. Donna, what do you think?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, anything to add before I move on?
No, why don't you go to the next slide and I'll take a crack at this one, give you a little bit of a break.
Sure.
Okay, so, you know, I kept, when we were starting to do this, go ahead and slide the whole thing in. I think the truth is, when I was doing research for this, because, you know, working at home and running a remote team is so normal to me, that any topic that I speak on, I have a little current research, and you know, Kelly, best practices here. We've got, you know, treat your office as you would a shared space. I mean, you have to create your schedule. You have to figure out what works for you. And I think that is, you know, I've been saying this forever. You know, I'm a person who schedules everything on my calendar, and the way I schedule things is also dictated by my current workload, but my current priorities. And I think that being distracted at home is really very easy to do. And so I think that although you feel like perhaps now you're home, you have a loose schedule, I would encourage you to actually schedule even a little harder, because you got to find that hard line between work at home. You know, Kelly talked about this with having a place to work. I think that's really but I think that you have to figure out what your kind of personal flow is. I'm an early morning person. I mean, my staff, if they start working at 9 o'clock, they could have 20 emails from me because I've been working since at 7. That's how I roll. I get up really early. It's what I do. But I also like to be kind of done by 3 o'clock, and I like to exercise. So I think you all have to find your rhythm, find your optimum schedule. Kelly has it here, and I can't say enough. you've got to take a break. And especially right now, we're all working differently. The other thing I feel like is we're all working at a different intensity. And I think that that intensity is a little bit exhausting. I don't know if I'm the only one experiencing that. You can show me some love in the chat window. But at the moment, things are a little intense, so I think it really is important to take a break. Yesterday, I scheduled my day so that I could take a run in the middle of the day, which was great. It was a beautiful day. I was not going to not get outside, and I think that's another really important thing that we all need to do at this point in time is when it's sunny, get your butt outside, practice social distancing, but get yourself outside and take a break. So, that's pretty much what I have on that one as far as, kind of um, best practices. And to me, working at home, and Kel, I'm going to kind of lead with this one and then we can kind of bring it back to both of us. But here's the thing about where we are right now, and it's where we always were. It's called the Pareto Principle. 80% of what you do will drive, no, I'm sorry, 20% of what you do will drive 80% of your results. So it is incumbent upon each of us professional people who are going to be here for the long haul to figure out what that 20% is. And the truth is that 20% might be different today than it was yesterday, than it was last week. And I think each day we have to get up and we have to decide what our goals should be. What should our priorities be? I feel like we're all working harder, but we may not be producing the way we used to produce. So our goals are different. In fact, I'm a big fan of a book called dun 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 The One Thing. This is by Gary Keller and Jay Papasan, and it takes that Pareto principle one step further, and it helps you to identify what is the one thing you can do that by doing it makes everything easier or unnecessary. Think domino. Like when you hit a lead domino, everything goes down, right? The whole thing goes down. So you have to think about what is your number one priority. I used to think it was content, but after working on one thing, I realized that my number one priority is business development and leadership, teaching other people within my organization to lead. Today, I'll be very honest with you. My number one is keeping a really close eye on my finances to make sure I'm doing everything I can to be fiscally responsible. So assess your priorities, set your goals around your priorities, create accountability. All working at home, communicate, 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 find an accountability. Create a group of, like valued people who want to jump on a Zoom call once a week, and you each want to say out loud, because your words have power, what are my priorities for this week? And then, if you're not using, like we said, we use Office 365. Another thing that you can use is either WhatsApp or GroupMe, and you can create little groups there and you can be communicating. But during this time of all of us working at home, communication is more important than ever. And so I think setting your priorities, setting your goals, creating ability, and then test, measure. And you know what? Forward. Everything you try is not going to work, but you have to test and measure and tweak it and decide what comes next. Kel, when you think about, working at home and expert tips, what else comes to mind? Because, I will tell you another thing that we've done as an organization. Even though we're all remote, once a year, we all come together face to face. I literally have everyone come in. I fly them in from wherever they are. We did this in October. It was fantastic because what we say to our clients is work on your own, but not alone. And we say that exact same thing to our team. Work on your own, but not alone. So your number one priority in all of this is communicate, 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 communicate. And the truth is, because we are in a current situation where we do not have face-to-face communication, video becomes even more important, because being able to read somebody's body language, tonality, is a huge part of how we communicate effectively. So using video is really important. We love Office 365 because from the chat window, we can just hit the camera and boom, we're up on a call. We share screens. We do it all day long, even though Kelly and I aren't in the same office. Terry and I aren't in the same office. Are talking via chat or video 2, 3, 4 times a day sometimes. And then sometimes I leave them alone so they can actually get some work done. Hee hee hee.
And it's great too with that because you could have group meetings. So sometimes you
Right,
2 or 3 or 4 people on a meeting.
right,
It's easier to sort of meet that way rather than going email back and forth, which we all know
right.
is you know.
Exactly. And I talk about this as two-dimensional and three-dimensional conversation. Two-dimensional conversations can happen via chat or email. Do you want to join me on Friday for virtual whatever at this point? That is a two-dimensional conversation. But what do you think about blah, 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 is a three-dimensional conversation that should not happen in writing. You should pick up the phone, or even better, jump on a video call. So, I hope, one of my hopes is that all this current scenario, maybe it will improve all our communications, and we will get better at making sure people hear what we say, and we will each get better at active listening. So again, there's always an opportunity in every situation.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, I think that communications key. If you see here, we have our little circle: goals, accountability, assessing. I always have tools to share. That's sort of my my job here at C3. I guess I'm doing a lot of trainings. I'm giving a lot of info out. Some of my recommendations for this, specifically setting goals and creating accountability, we use Asana, which is a group. You can put your tasks, you can put in projects, you can put due dates, delegate to people. That's where we sort of set goals in a way. We have, what we're working on, what needs to get done when, and we can see who's working on them. You can see your own
And in
progress.
case you weren't able to hear that, Kelly, because your sound is a little funky,
Oh, darn,
what Kelly said was, we use Asana, ASANA. That is a free, yes, that's FREE. That is a free project management and task management software. Highly recommend that you deploy some sort of project management, honestly, even if it's just you. And here's why I love Asana, is all these ideas that go through my head. I don't know, am I the only one that has like 8,000 ideas? Yes, you could see my crazy board behind me. This is the entrepreneurial curse and blessing, the double-edged sword. I'm always thinking, I'm always coming up with ideas. I put them in Asana lists because sometimes they're great ideas that I can't get to right now, and that way they're being held somewhere. And sometimes they're just stupid things that I look at them in 3 weeks and I go, what was that? Delete if I can't think about it. So me, it's about getting everything out of my head and creating more space in my head. So I highly recommend. Asana is what we use. Many people use Basecamp. Microsoft Microsoft Office 365 has something called projects. They keep releasing things. And so I'm sure we'll check that out at some point as well, but we haven't started taking a look at that one yet. So Kelly, we're coming to the end of our time. Is there something you want to add to this? I do have one area of questions, and for everyone who is on the webinar, please open your chat window. If you have any questions you want us to answer before we finish up, we're happy to address those specific questions.
Yeah, no, that's really where I've come to the end. I just, always be aware that we have tools, we have programs that we have used, that we have troubleshoot. We worked with a lot. And for this specific one, setting goals, creating accountability, and being able to assess, That's what you need to do. I think, Donna, you've said this before, a dream doesn't become a goal until you write it down. And
Amen.
yeah, and that's one of the big things you need to do is you need to put it somewhere and look at it and give yourself deadlines if you can, because that helps me. I'm a deadline gal. I need them. So
Yeah.
if you want any more information on these kinds of programs that we use, I'm very happy to help. A lot of trainings. And now I think we'd like to open it up and see, what you guys are dealing with. What are your struggles? Do you have any questions? I know, Donna, you said some people
Yeah,
emailed.
I have some here. Great. Yeah, I mean, also not surprising, when I did search, the biggest challenge that most people have in working at home is unplugging after work. So I don't know if any of you are being challenged with that right now. I have to admit that even though I've been working at home for quite some time, last week has been, it seems to be leaking into my personal life more so than any other. So plugging after work. This week, what that looks like is, making sure I get my exercise in at a specific time. Again, I put that on my calendar. So again, for me, the unplugging part is about scheduling and having it on my calendar. And I have to say that because of our current situation, I am finding to find with a little silly TV. I like Kelly, I'm not watching a lot of news.
Yeah.
My current favorite is Third Rock from the Sun. I'm sorry, I think John
Classic.
Lithgow might be just one of the funniest actors. I watched it last night and I was literally laughing out loud. So, um, unplugging, I think, creating a schedule and following the schedule, check, check, check. Kelly, how are you? What's one thing that you're doing to unplug after work?
Well, I've done something similar to what you said in terms of accountability anyway, and schedule time for working out. One of my colleagues, Danielle, actually, she and I have created a workout accountability. So
Great.
certain time after work, we're checking in and saying, did you get it done? Did you not? What happened? So, I went for a run yesterday. Oh my God. It felt like a long drink of a tall glass of water, honestly. It felt so
I
good
know. I
to get
know.
sucked
I know.
in air and to run and really get your heart rate. We're inside breathing the same air, even if it's around the block, keep your distance, but get
Yes.
outside. That's, I think, the
Yes.
biggest one. Get away. And this is
I,
why it's important for your space to be somewhere specific, because you have to literally get away from it.
right.
When you work in an office, you leave, you drive home. But
Right.
when you work from home,
Yeah. Another thing that I do to unplug on the weekends is I turn my email off on my phone. I know, did you all just gasp? Usually when I say that I'm speaking in front of a live audience, I get people, I'm like, honest to goodness, you just turn it off and you turn it back on. So I am doing that more. And I also, I don't do it every weekend, but if I find myself getting sucked into social media, and this is kind of work and personal, I'll take those apps off my phone and just do them on the computer. So my rule for myself is, I really try not to work on the weekends, but given the current situation, I'm making sure that there's one day on the weekend that I do not work at all. For me, that's Sunday. I'm now going to virtual church in the morning, and then I still like to make a family meal. And question here, a live question: any advice with how to stay during this time if you are in the service industry and are unable to provide that service right now? That is a great question. We could go on for another 45 minutes, but here's what I will tell you we are doing. We have taken our list of about 250 clients and we have divided that among us. And we are literally picking up. I know sometimes the phone feels like 100 pounds. We are calling all of our clients to not to say, here's what we can do, but we're calling to say, how are you? Is there one thing we can do to help you through this time? We can do. And the reason I say one thing is because when you're asked feedback from someone, asking for one thing, they can wrap their head around that a lot easier than saying, is there anything we can do for you? So my answer is, how do you stay in front of your clients right now? Make phone calls. We're sending probably times we're sending emails with updates of what's going on. Email marketing is still pretty powerful. They're, if they, you have to let them unsubscribe. But I think the bigger question is, and I don't know, and you can chime into the window and tell me if I'm going off the deep end here, but if you're unable to provide your service right now, or if your clients aren't buying right now, which is happening for many of us, I would encourage you to switch gears and consider the possibility that your one thing right now is building circle of influence. Who are the people? First of all, who's your target market very specifically? And who are the people that are in front of that target market that can drive streams of referrals for you? And I would encourage you to let your out now be around strategic partnerships, centers of influence, and driving referrals. Because when this is over, and it will be over, you will have some new relationships that can help you drive business when that business starts back up. And right now, those centers of influence probably also have time on their hands. So I do remember, in some ways I've compared this to the 2008-2009 economic debacle. I could get FaceTime with people that would never have talked to me before. So any advice on how to stay in front of mind with your clients? Make some calls, send some emails, shift your focus to centers of influence and those people who can drive referrals. I hope that helped.
I have one thing to add as well. What we're doing is trying to be as much of go-givers as we can be. So things that we can give sort of pro bono services, it keeps us in front of people, it's keeping our connections, and we're able to teach them and they're able to learn. And I think from everyone I've spoken to so far, they're very appreciative. So
yeah, so that's what we want you to know. We'll go out in our follow-up email, but Kelly has created a web page on our website, c3workplace.com/small-business-resources. All this information that's coming at us in a fire hose fashion, we're putting it on that page so you have it in one place. And as an organization, we are offering as much pro bono work as we can. I am available for strategic. Kelly is training people on Zoom. Terry is working with people on QuickBooks training, because one of the things you can do with this gift of time is not only work on your centers of influence, but deepen your skill set so that you can bring more value to the table, so that you can be a go-giver, you top of mind, so that you become an influencer, so that when you do a webinar, people show up. So like I said, all of that will be in our email that you will get as a follow-up. But, right now, those pro bono services might be your marketing expense. And it's a way to, people have been so grateful to Kelly and I for jumping on calls and trying to do what we can. And you know what? These situations bring out the best in people and they bring out the worst in people. One of the people that it brings out the best in. And that's my rant for today.
Yeah, that's what we've got. I hope you guys got some useful information. And like we said, we will be following up with additional resources and some of the things we spoke about. And we're available to help if you need it.
Yes,
So
absolutely. So thank you all for joining us. Be safe. Be productive, be positive. I assure you this too shall pass.
Absolutely. All right, everybody.
Thanks, everyone. Have a great day.
All right, bye-bye.